Warning. This show features dark subjects which may be triggering to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Chaos Jar. I'm J Wes Secord, the loud and obnoxious one. Hey. And over on the other end, we have our big bag of facts, Bad Ben.
Hey.
And as always, we have our good friend, A.T. Token.
Hey.
Here, say it. I turned the mic.
Hey.
Good. Now that is all established and worldly and, all the other shit, I'm going to send us over to Bad Ben for the house cleaning.
All right, so rate, review, like, subscribe, all that good jazz. Give us some more listeners. Give us 5 stars. The usual. You can follow us on Facebook at Pandora Jar Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram or on Twitter at DA Chaos Jar, or on Twitter at I'm Glad You Asked _
Well, I'm Glad You Asked _ is actually my Twitter account, where if you come to the podcast and leave random questions, I will give you random answers.
All right, and yeah.
We just listened to our trailer, and somehow now that's led me to doing my announcer voice all of a sudden. Like, I know I've always been kind of booming, but like, I feel like I was especially welcome today.
I'm glad no one asked.
You know what? I think if I'm going to be doing this intro, I should probably be starting to do the house cleaning and everything. We're going to write down a piece of paper so I can be like, all right, house cleaning, script,
and
this thing.
The very last thing on all this is Patreon. Pandora Jar Podcast on Patreon as well. There's a link in the show notes. And you can also send us PayPal through Benson4535 at Outlook.com. So,
send us those PayPals.
If you send us those PayPal payments,
We won't sound so shitty on the audio.
yeah, we'll be able to afford a mic.
Yeah.
We'll have our own mics.
Yeah. We might even have a mic to put in the cage with Token. That'd be great.
You'll hear the rattle.
All I picture is flailing.
Yeah. I wish I had that mug, because I did that last time. So, what's going in the jar today?
Well, today we're going to talk about Dybbuks.
What?
Well, okay, folks, so books were invented way back.
Not books. Dybbuks.
I thought you just slurred that.
D-B-U-K. It's actually something from Jewish mythology. So we'll talk about that today. It's actually famous for a different reason, and we will discuss that. But in order to kind of grasp this, I just need to know, J Wes, you're a performer, you like plays.
I does.
Do you know the man known as S. Ansky?
S. Ansky. No. It's a funny thing. I like to perform, but I know like literally nothing about actual plays.
Well, that's
Well, I'm glad nothing has been spoiled.
So, we're going to introduce you to S. Ansky here, or by his real name, Shloim Zanvi Rapoport.
Oh, I know that guy.
Incredibly Jewish.
You know him by Shloim.
Yeah, you're Schlein.
Alright, so...
I assume German.
No.
No?
Well, kind of. It's Belarus, but he was born in 1863 in Shizhninsky, Vitebsk Governorate of Russia.
Those are like my favorite chocolate bars.
Yeah. So it was part of the Russian Empire, and it's now modern-day Belarus. He was greatly influenced by the Russian Narodnik movement, which was like an agrarian socialism movement, and this brought him into the study of ethnography.
Ethnography?
Thank you. There we go.
I didn't even know the word. I just discerned it.
Yeah, and it brought him into socialism and political activism. He was actually very vocal in this. He headed up many ethnography expeditions to Jewish towns, of Bohemia and Podolia.
Do you need a second to read these words?
I got it.
Ethnographic,
And he did this from 1911 to 1914, around the time that World War I broke out. So, Russia was a little busy at that point and pulled him out.
Yeah.
All of his ethnography collections were then locked away by the Soviets, and they resurfaced in the 1990s.
Why'd they lock it?
Because of the fact that they were Jewish and there was a lot of anti-Semitism happening and so on.
Yeah, World War II happened a little bit after that.
Yeah, but it hadn't happened yet. World War I was just a big political clusterfuck.
He also was a writer under the name of S. Ansky. Originally, he did all his writing in Russian, but in 1904, he decided to become predominantly a Yiddish writer.
That's an odd choice.
Well, I believe with a name like Schloim, he was...
It's a cultural push.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. Schloim.
Yeah. So his...
It's an unfortunate sounding name.
His best work actually brought the topic we're talking today to prominence. He authored a play known as The Dybbuks, and it's also known as Between Two Worlds.
That sounds way cooler.
Yeah,
Oh man, I actually tried to write a book a long time ago called Between Two Worlds. That's actually really neat.
That's really crazy.
Yeah, and I had no idea this thing existed, so that's actually kind of cool.
So he wrote it between 1913 and 1916. It kind of became common knowledge around 1914 that he was writing this stuff. So the plot centers around a woman who is possessed by the spirit of her deceased lover. It premiered as a play in 1920 on a world stage, and it was adapted into a film by Mikhail Wozniacki in 1937. So, what is a Dybbuk?
What is a Dybbuk?
Yeah, what is a Dybbuk?
I love how you say it. What is a Dybbuk?
Yeah.
It just sounds like you're just fucking up your own language. What is a Dybbuk?
So, in Jewish mythology, a Dybbuk is a malicious possession spirit. It's believed to be a dislocated soul of a dead person and will normally leave a host once it's accomplished a goal or been helped to move on. So basically, it's someone who's died in a probably terrible way or wasn't led on to the next portion of the afterlife.
Is this like where a large portion of like the concepts of ghosts come from? Because that actually sounds like a lot of what ghosts sort of became later on.
So it kind of is, but we'll talk about how like the origins came about originally. They were originally thought to be demons, and then it became that these were basically just malicious spirits because like malicious spirits trying to possess the living because they weren't really certain of which way they're supposed to go or so on.
Mm-hmm.
The book comes from the Hebrew word Dybbuk.
Thanks.
The book in Hebrew is the book,
which means the act of sticking. So a possession spirit, right? It also kind of derives from the verbs for adhere or cling. It appears in writings during the 16th century, but those were kind of put back until S. Ansky brought it to light, and his play is what made a great deal of the mythological canon for.
So he's like bringing back old culture to the relatively modern audience.
Yeah.
Is some of his stuff a little bit more like modernized for the audience, or?
I would guess so. I looked into like what the plot consists of, and it does seem to be centered around his lifetime kind of thing.
I'm guessing there's no English translation.
There is English translation.
Oh, really?
It's just not really performed very often in English. It's actually mostly performed in Russian or Yiddish. So.
That makes perfect sense.
So,
it's interesting. I would, I might look this up because that'd be kind of cool thing to
know
to put up in North America if it's not well known. The only problem is finding the right actors for that.
Yeah, you'd have to find, some really Jewish actors.
Is it all Jewish characters?
Basically, the entire thing centers around like Jewish actors and so on. Like I said, he did become very predominantly Yiddish and really embraced the Hebrew at that time.
Okay, yeah.
Earlier accounts of the book, it's portrayed more as like a demon than a deceased person.
You saw my smile.
You're not gonna get over that.
He goes, the first depiction of
the moment I say
Dybbuk.
The moment I say Dybbuk, I always feel you.
Well, that time too, you added the A in so quickly. So Dybbuk.
So the Dybbuk could be warded off with advocated measures, by rabbis and so on. For example, there was ways of doing it by just simply believing. For example, entertaining doubts about Moses' crossing of the Red Sea can open a family to possessions. So
this isn't leading at all.
They could have a whole library.
They have a whole whack of the books.
You know what? Part of me feels like this should be offensive, but at the weird time, it feels like it's not.
Yeah, it's weird. So most of the records of the book possessions are very clearly documented with thorough details and names and locations. So as much as Catholic priests and so on that do exorcisms have a lot of details, it's nothing compared to the possession details that rabbis and anyone studying these things actually do document down.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how on point to the time, name, location, what was happening, everything is just very well documented.
That kind of makes sense, because the Jewish faith has been around a lot longer than Christianity ever was. So
it's derived from. So
yeah. That's isn't it the Old Testament is what the Jewish faith is surrounded?
Well, the Torah leads right into the Old Testament, so yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They're all from Jainism, I think. So it's not even the originating.
Jesus,
Everybody steals from everybody.
Jesus Christ!
So sensitive.
Again, find our ignorance term.
Yeah. Please love us.
Yeah.
Please.
So,
whatever.
There are other forms of soul transmigration in Jewish culture, such as the Igor, meaning impregnation, which is when a righteous spirit temporarily takes possession. So basically, and this is always done with the consent, so that the soul can perform a mitzvah, which is a deed of human kindness, in keeping of Jewish commandment laws.
So angel borrows your body, do something cool?
Yeah, in all honesty, if you've ever watched Supernatural, it's kind of how the angels need to...
I was literally just going to bring that up.
Yeah. So, I guess, and that's why this is more of a righteous soul, instead of the book, which is...
Stop looking at me!
Which is a malicious soul.
Be a ghost.
And then
No, I should be in a book.
And then another one is the giggle, which...
Did you just say the giggle?
The giggle.
Oh, giggle. Okay.
Giggle.
I
I think I've heard of this one. I don't remember what it is, though.
Its meaning is rolling, and it's actually... it's where a soul must live through many lives to gain the wisdom in order to join God, because that's how their afterlife works, is they go through Kabbalah in order to join God. That's my understanding of it. Again, don't quote me. I haven't thoroughly...
Quote him. He is all right, our bag of facts. Dybbuk.
So anyways, one of the most commonly used methods to rid someone of a Dybbuk possession is...
Charge them library fees.
The sad thing is, I'm sure there's a payment.
It's fine. I thought this episode was going to be my jokes for it.
When you say the word Dybbuk, it just sounds like some dude going, "Yo, man, I got that book."
Just a West Brummy accent.
So, anyways, one of the most commonly used methods is with a Dybbuk box.
Not a Dybbuk shelf.
the Dybbuk box on the Dybbuk shelf. So essentially, it's a wine box that the Dybbuk is forced to haunt. So because it's a malicious possession spirit, it needs something to possess. So the box is sealed with the Dybbuk and is not to be reopened for fear of freeing that soul. So Kevin Mannis actually used the term Dybbuk box.
You can't, no!
This is gonna be
I broke you! I fucking broke you!
Should I start doing the reading?
He termed this when auctioning a wine box on eBay. The following is the item description as listed on eBay. So, all of the events that I am about to set forth in the listing are accurate and may be verified by the winning bidder, with the copies of hospital records, sworn affidavits that I am including as a part of the sale of the cabinet. During September of 2001, what a time.
Yeah.
I attended an estate sale in Portland, Oregon. The items liquidated at the sale were from an estate of a woman who had passed away at the age of 103.
Damn.
A granddaughter of the woman told me that her grandmother had been born in Poland, where she grew up, married, raised a family, and lived until she was sent to a Nazi concentration camp during World War II. She was the only member of her family who survived the camp. Her parents, brothers, a sister, husband, and 2 sons and a daughter were all killed.
Oh.
She survived the camp by escaping with some other prisoners and somehow making her way to Spain, where she lived until the end of the war. I was told that she had acquired the small wine cabinet listed here in Spain, and it was one of only 3 items that she brought with her when she immigrated to the United States. The other 2 items were a steamer trunk and a sewing box. I purchased the wine cabinet, along with the sewing box and some other furniture at the estate sale. After the sale, I approached the woman's granddaughter, who said, "I see you got the Dybbuk box." She was referring to the wine cabinet. I asked her what a Dybbuk box was. She told me that when she was growing up, her grandmother had always kept the wine cabinet in her sewing room. It was always shut and set in a place that was out of reach. The grandmother always called it the Dybbuk box. When the girl asked her grandmother what was inside, her grandmother spit 3 times through her fingers and said, Dybbuks and Kessel.
What was that second word?
Kessel. Kesel.
Do we know what that means?
Probably some sort of blessing.
Like a defense.
Wouldn't it be like something like Kasalum?
Something like that.
Like pronunciation wise?
Yeah. The grandmother went on to tell the girl that the wine cabinet was never, ever to be opened. The granddaughter told
just burn it.
Told me that there's a reason.
Because it'd probably be freed.
The granddaughter told me that her grandmother had asked that the box be buried with her.
Oh shit.
However, as such a request was contrary to the rules of an Orthodox Jewish burial, the grandmother's request was not to be honored.
Damn.
I asked the granddaughter what a Dybbuk and Kessel were, but she did not know. I asked if she would like to open it with me. She did not want to open it, as her grandmother had been very empathetic and serious when she instructed her not to do so. And regardless of the reason, she wanted to honor her grandmother's request. Fair.
So I get rid of it.
I finally ended up offering to let her keep what seemed to be a sentimental keepsake, at which point she was very insistent and said, "No, you bought it."
So she doesn't want the responsibility.
Yeah, it's just like
your problem now, bitch.
Oh no, fuck you! I've been holding on to that way too long.
So I explained that I didn't want my money back, and that it would make me feel better to do what I thought was an act of kindness. She then became somewhat upset. Looking back, the way she became upset was just plain odd. She raised her voice and said, "You bought it. You made a deal. You made a deal." When I tried speaking, she yelled, "We don't want it." She began to cry. asked me to leave, and quickly walked away. I wrote the whole episode off as the stress and grief she must have been experiencing. I took my purchases and left and politely left. So I'm just going to stop right there and let's kind of unpack that whole thing. That's not the end of this whole thing, but I think right there is where we should kind of
take a little break
down
and
what kind of
analyze
happened.
that craziness.
The grandmother died at 103. She was a Holocaust survivor. Obviously, Jewish family.
She's seen some shit.
She wanted the box buried with her. She always kept it out of reach in her sewing room. And she would do these odd things whenever asked about what was inside. So to me, I feel like maybe her granddaughter had even more of an understanding of what was there and wasn't explaining to him entirely.
I think she must have experienced something.
Yeah.
Because she to get to the point that you're crying, like that really, no, get it away from me type of...
You bought it, you made a deal. Holy crap. Like... Yeah. I, personally, if I bought this, I would have been like, you know what? Fuck it, it's yours. And like, left it behind. I don't even know if that's true. I probably would still take it home because I have an interest in this kind of stuff.
Not healthy, but legit.
Alright. So,
to return to Dybbuks.
We're going to go back to this. We're going to turn back to the
Turn the next page.
So at the time when I bought the cabinet, I owned a small furniture refinishing business. I took the cabinet to my store, and I put it in the basement workshop where I intended to refinish it and give it as a gift to my mother. I didn't think anything more about it. I opened my shop for the day and went on to run some errands, leaving the young woman who did sales for me in charge. After about a half hour, I got a phone call on my cell. The call was from my salesperson. She was absolutely hysterical and screaming that someone was in my workshop breaking glass and swearing. Furthermore, the intruder had locked the iron security gates and the emergency exit so that she couldn't get out.
Why didn't you call the cops?
As I told her to call the police,
there you go.
my cell phone battery went dead. I hit speeds of 100 miles per hour getting back to the shop. When I arrived, I found the gates locked. I went inside and found my employee on the floor in the corner of my office sobbing hysterically. I ran to the basement and went downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, I was hit by the overpowering, unmistakable odor of cat urine. There was never any animals kept or found in my shop. The lights didn't work. As I investigated, I found that the reason the lights didn't work also explained the sounds of the glass breaking. All the light bulbs in the basement were broken. All 9 incandescent bulbs had been broken in their sockets, and 10 4-foot fluorescent tubes were lying shattered on the floor. I did not find an intruder, however. I should also add that there was only one entrance to the basement. It would have been impossible for anyone to leave without meeting me head on. I went back up and spoke to my salesperson, but she had left. She never returned to work. After having been with me for 2 years, she refused to discuss the incident to this day. I never thought of the relating events of that day to anything having to do with the cabinet. Then things got worse. As I already indicated, I decided to give the cabinet to my mother as a birthday gift. About 2 weeks after I made the purchase,
he didn't relate, remember.
I decided to get started refinishing.
This is making me feel very, I'm like imagining like Insidious, where like they would just sort of walk by a window and then all of a sudden they're in the room. Just the way the sound of like a person who closed everything and just started yelling.
I was surprised to find that the cabinet had a unique little mechanism. When you open one of the doors, the mechanism causes the opposite door and the little door below to open at the same time. It was very well made. Inside the cabinet, I found the following items. 1 1928 U.S. wheat penny. 1 1925 U.S. wheat penny. 1 small lock of blonde hair bound with string. One small lock of black-brown hairs found this spring.
Is this a police officer itemizing this? Jesus.
One small granite statue engraved and gilded with Hebrew letters. I have been told that the letters spell out the word shalom. One dried rosebud. I'll just take a break for 1 second on the shalom. If you either of you know what shalom means.
We'll say no for the sake of the
I've honestly, just like anybody else, I've heard it a lot of times in media and stuff.
It kind of speaks about peace, harmony, and so on. So,
it's like a greeting call.
One dried rosebud, one golden wine cup, one very strange black cast iron candlestick holder with octopus legs.
That's super
nice.
Creepy. Zulu.
I saved all of the items in a box, intending to return them to the estate. The family has refused the items, so they will be included in the sale of the cabinet. After opening the cabinet, I decided not to refinish it. I cleaned it, rubbed it with some lemon oil. It was at this time that I noticed there was an inscription in Hebrew carved into the back of the cabinet. I have no idea what it says, or if it is significant. I have included a picture of the inscription below. On my mother's birthday, October 28, 2001, my mother called to tell me that she was going out of town with my sister for 3 days, and we postponed celebrating her birthday until she returned. On October 31st, 2001, my mother came to my shop. We were going to have lunch together, but before we were going to leave, I gave her the wine cap. She seemed to like it. While she examined it, I went to make a phone call. I hadn't been out of sight for more than 5 minutes when one of my employees came running into my office saying that something was wrong with my mom. When I went back to see what the matter was, I found my mom sitting in a chair beside the cabinet. Her face had no expression, but tears were streaming down her cheeks. No matter how I tried to get her to respond, she would not. She could not. It turned out my mother had just suffered a stroke. She was taken to the hospital by ambulance. She ended up suffering partial paralysis and losing her ability to speak and form words. She has since regained the ability to speak. She could understand things being said to her, and could respond by pointing to letters of the alphabet and spell them out for what she wanted to say. When I asked her the following day how she was doing, she teared up and spelled out the words N-O-G-I-F-T. No gift. I assured her that I had given her.
Oh, she didn't want the gift.
Thinking that she didn't remember, but she became even more upset and spelled out the words H-A-T-E-G-I-F-T. Gift. I laughed and told her not to worry. I told her I was sorry she didn't like the cabinet, and that I would get her anything she wanted if she would promise to get well soon. Still, I didn't associate anything that happened with the cabinet itself or anything paranormal. Frankly, I don't think I ever used the term paranormal until last month. I'll try to make this short now. I gave the cabinet to my sister. I kept it for a week. Then she kept it for a week. Then she gave it back. She complained that she couldn't get the doors to stay closed and that they kept coming open. There were no springs in the door mechanism. And I never found out that the doors came open. So he never found that the doors came open.
Yeah.
He gave it to my brother and his wife, who kept it for 3 days, then gave it back. My brother said it smelled like jasmine flowers, while his wife kept insisting that it was put out an odor of cat urine. I gave it to my girlfriend, who asked me to sell it for her after only 2 days. I sold it the same day to a nice middle-aged couple. 3 days later, when I came to open my shop for the day, I found the cabinet sitting in the front doors with a note, and it read, "This has bad darkness. I had no idea what it meant." Anyway, I ended up taking it home. Then things got worse. So let's unpack a little bit from where we're at.
Nobody wants this. Burn it.
Yeah, nobody wants the gift. They don't want any of the stuff that was inside of it. He opened the book box.
The book box.
Am I correct to say the first thing his mother said after his stroke was no gift?
And then the next thing was hate gift.
Like, no comment on anything else, but fuck that thing.
Yeah. And the fact that his shop got, that all those lights were, smashed and stuff, and that and Woody was freaking out. Like,
Well, there are things that can cause that to be fair.
I think the part that gets me is a lot of shit happened before it was even opened.
Yeah, nobody likes it.
yeah,
Well, yeah, no shit. But like, I mean, all the lights and stuff shattering, and the dude who locked the stuff and sweared at the employee and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That all happened before he even opened it.
yeah. He hadn't opened it at this point, and then he decided to refinish it. He could even smell that cat urine smell before he opened it. I also think that it's interesting the things inside of it, like the 2 pennies, the blonde hair, the black brown hair.
All of those are part of some sort of ritual. You just know it is.
Yeah. So, as he said, then things got even worse. That really leads us into quite a tale, I'm guessing.
It isn't already?
Oh, it's getting more. Since the day I brought it home, I began to have strange, reoccurring nightmares. Every time I have a horrible dream, it goes something like this. I find myself walking with a friend, usually someone I know well and trust at some point in the dream. I find myself looking into the eyes of the person that I am with. It is then that I realize that there is something different, something evil looking back at me. At that point, in my dream, the person I am with changes into what I can only describe as the most gruesome, demonic-looking hag that I've ever seen. This hag proceeds then to feed the living tar. I have awakened numerous times to find bruises and marks on myself where I've been hit by the old woman during the previous night. Still, I never related the nightmares to the cabinet, nor do I think that I ever would have.
It's worth pointing out, dreams can cause physical injuries in real life. I've woken up with a completely bloody nose before.
This also... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said from a fight.
I was going to say, this also sounds a lot like Insidious, as there is a horrible old hag in there. I'm wondering, man, some of these things, I wonder if they took from this story.
We're even going to talk about something that, because there's actually a movie that's related to this.
Oh, really?
So, about a month ago, however, my sister and my brother and his wife came over to my house and spent the night. The following morning, during breakfast, my sister complained that she had had a horrible nightmare. She said that she recalled having it a couple times before, and went on to describe my nightmare exactly to the last detail. My brother and his wife froze as they listened, then chimed in that they had both had the exact same dreams during the night as well. The hair was standing on the back of my neck and still is. As we talked, it became clear that the common denominator that each of us had the nightmare during the times that the cabinet was in our respective homes. I called my girlfriend and asked if she could recall having any nightmares recently. She described the same nightmare, same hag, everything. When I asked her if she remembered the date when she had the nightmare, she said that she did not. Then I asked if it happened to be the night before she gave me the cabinet back to sell for her. She said, "Yeah, how did you know that?" Now then, since my family discussion, it seems like all hell is broken loose. For a week afterwards, I started seeing what I can only describe as shadow things in my peripheral vision. In fact, numerous visitors to my house have claimed that they have also seen these shadow things. I put the cabinet in an outside storage unit and was awakened when the smoke alarm in the unit went off in the middle of the night. When I went to see what was burning, I opened the door and I didn't see any smoke. However, I did get hit with the smell of cat urine. When I went back inside, the smell was there in my house. I do not own a cat, and I never have. And this is all in capitals.
Mm-hmm. You know, everything in capitals is always serious.
Went back outside.
Or clueless.
Or just really loud.
No, clueless whole thing.
I never have!
What is caps lock?
I went back outside, grabbed the cabinet, and brought it back inside and tried to research it on the internet. While I was surfing the net, I fell asleep and once again had the same freaking nightmare. I woke up around 4:30 a.m. when I felt it and smelled like someone was breathing on the back of my neck. To find my house now smelled like jasmine flowers. and just in time for me to see a huge shadow thing go lopping down the hallway next to me.
Loping.
Okay, okay.
Lopping is like cutting something.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, what he said. I
I
would never have made that mistake.
would destroy this thing in a second.
I'm
except-
ESL.
I would destroy this thing in a second, except I really don't have any understanding of what I may or may not be dealing with. I am afraid, and I do mean afraid.
How many sleepless days in is it by now?
It's not that he's sleepless, that he's having nightmares.
Yeah, but that is effectively sleepless. So I'm
It's
wondering,
been
like,
over a month now.
so his brain is fucked.
We're gonna talk a little bit about him in a second. So
Oh, okay.
that if I did, and I do mean afraid that if I destroy the cabinet, whatever it is that seems to have come in the cabinet may just stay here with me. I've been told that there are people who shop on eBay that understand these kind of things and specifically look for these kind of items. If you're one of these people, please buy this cabinet and do whatever you do with things like this. Help me. You see, you can see that I have no reserve price or minimum bid. If I can make things any easier, let me know, and I will do whatever within my ability. One more note. On the same day that my mom had her stroke, the lease to my store was summarily terminated without cause.
Oh, the lease.
Yeah. The measurements are 12.5 inches by 7.5 inches by 16.25 inches. All of the items that I originally found in the cabinet are included in the sale and will be delivered with the cabinet. Update. On June 12th, 2003, at 2:15:30 Pacific District Time, seller added the following information. There is no way that I can respond to all the emails that I've received since I put this thing online. I'll try now to update and answer the most common questions I've been receiving. 1. No, I am not religious. 2. No, I do not wish to have or participate in any sort of exorcism or case study or photo sessions at my home. 3. No, I will not sell any individual pieces which were originally found separate from the other pieces and the cabinet. 4. No, I do not speak Hebrew, nor do I know what the word Kesum means. I don't know that the word is even or a Hebrew word. We got this down. 5. At the end of the auction, I have decided to take the opportunity to speak with the winning bidder for 2 reasons. A. To make sure that the winning bidder is a serious adult who has employed some valid reasoning skills in making a decision to accept whatever this is. I will not be judgmental. Do whatever you want or need after the sale. B. To offer full details of the events that have transpired after I have carried out those responsibilities. Upon payment, I will have the cabinet and its contents delivered by U.S. mail, FedEx, or UPS to the winning bidder. At that point, I will have no further involvement with the matter in any way, shape, or form. Period. 6. To all of you who have offered to pray, I may not be religious, but I am certainly open to the possibilities. No matter what your religion might be, thank you. Updating now. On June 14th, 2003, 5:21 Pacific District Time. Seller added the following information. Here's another update following the listing. No, I will not circumvent or make any deals outside of eBay, even for more money than the final auction price. If you want to win the auction and have the kind of money you're offering, there shouldn't be any reason why you cannot simply place your bid in an open, honest fashion. I'm sure you understand why I might be suspicious. Also, for those of you wanting to know if I'm still experiencing anything out of the ordinary, I thought everything was going to be okay until I got home on Friday, the 13th of June, and found that the fish in my freshwater aquarium,
Dead.
all 10 were dead. Over the years, many people have taken ownership of the box Oh wait, no. So that's the end of the whole thing.
Okay.
So again, we'll unpack that. He put it back up on eBay. This whole thing's about eBay.
Yeah.
His lease was terminated for no reason whatsoever.
String of bad luck, we'll say.
Yeah.
To be charitable.
This nightmare that everyone's sharing.
His fish died.
The fish died.
Oops.
The smell of cat urine, the jasmine flowers, the shadow things, all of this. Parts of that I can kind of write off as paranoia, drawing dreams, and like we said,
Complete lack of sleep.
this lack of sleep, or the fact that he's constantly having nightmares and then everybody else around him. But that's also subjective. You can be putting subjective thoughts on people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of odd that, if it's true, if his sister actually had the same dream that he's been having this whole time, and then all of a sudden his brother and his brother's wife kind of chimed in and was like, wait a minute, we've been having that dream too, and then his girlfriend.
Yeah.
But
It's all fairly suggestible to be a dick.
so
But
the thing about Kevin Mannis is that as much as he was a small furniture refinishing
guy.
person, he also is a creative writer as a living.
Ah.
However, I also find it odd that he kind of put the auction with no minimum bid, but I do feel that maybe he researched that there's hidden things behind these hauntings and so on. But we will talk about others that don't exactly have that same history, because this box hasn't just been sold on eBay once.
Ooh, history.
Hasn't been sold?
People have been trying to get rid of this thing for a little while, it sounds like.
So, this all happened in 2003. Over the years, many people have taken the ownership of the box, then quickly auctioned it off. So they would get the box and then quickly auction it off as well. All owners reported the smell of cat urine or jasmine flowers and have nightmares of the old man. The last person to auction the box on eBay was Josef Netsky. Josef was a student of Truman State University in Kirksville, Missouri. So, interesting name, but his name.
Unrelated.
He claimed that the box would cause lights to burn out and his hair to fall. Nitsky eventually sold the box to Jason Haxton, the director of the Museum of Osteopathic Medicine in Kirksville. So the same
But just someone interested in stuff,
yeah.
not a specialist.
Jason had actually been following Yosef's blog about the haunting. So he actually was writing blogs about this online, and Jason took an interest in this. Haxton eventually wrote the Dybbuks box. He claimed he developed a strange
Such a dick.
health problems such as hives, coughing up blood, and head-to-toe welts. So that kind of corresponds with the nightmares, like how he had bruises and so on. He eventually sought aid from a rabbi who helped him reseal the Dybbuk back into the box. The box was then donated to a very well-known ghost hunter, Zach Baggins of Ghost Adventures fame.
Cool.
So I don't know if you know what.
Nope.
No.
So Ghost Adventures is about these guys that go into places that are haunted and they lock themselves inside overnight.
Mhm.
So that's what their whole show is.
Oh, you know what? I think I might have known about these guys a long time ago.
So that whole trio kind of fell apart though, and because of that, Zach actually opened up a museum, and the book box is actually on display in the museum.
Really?
To this day?
Yep,
Nice.
in Las Vegas.
Oh, Vegas, okay.
So, shortly after its arrival, mysterious protruding holes began to appear in the walls around the artifact.
It's radioactive.
As if something was trying to break out of this exhibit. Crazy.
Or it's emitting like high intensity
Yeah,
radiation.
you'd
get
the
the same
whole
result.
time it was just radiation.
Yeah, that's what this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Since it is, falling out hair. Right?
Yeah.
Since
Mutants.
it has been on display, Baggins, the museum staff, and visitors have all experienced the black shadows, fainting, feeling of sickness, anger, anxiety, and way more, like depression.
All sorts of bad juju. Pun not quite intended, but funny.
This is actually Zach's second book box.
Eh?
There are 10 confirmed Dybbuk boxes in existence in the world.
Are they all in like one place by now?
Yeah, a library.
You just can't get over yourself.
They're on the Dybbuk shelf.
Yeah, 16 feet underground, hopefully.
You can rent it out.
The reason for the 10 is one for each of the branches of the Tree of Life concept of the
Ah, okay. So there's a reason.
Which is the basis of Jewish
Mysticism.
Mysticism.
Yeah. Only 8 of the 10 are accounted for, leaving 2 somewhere out there in the world.
You're the troll today, huh?
I am!
It's usually me.
So I just said,
any
2 are unaccounted for.
Yeah, I heard that, but is there any trace of it?
They know that they exist. That's the whole point.
Okay, but like, there's no inkling of where it might be.
Where it
No,
might be.
like, clusterfuck. There's no way of tracing it mystically or anything like
So you
that.
gotta think that out of the 10, 8 are accounted for, and Zach has 2. He has the one that he purchased from, that he got as a donation from Haxton after it was resealed, and he has a smaller one as well.
I would guess the size is not an indicator of anything, though.
Probably not.
No.
So, during this COVID-19 pandemic, there goes any monetization.
Verboten!
Zach decided to film Ghost Adventures Quarantine, where he would provoke spirits within many of his haunted items on display in his museum.
Oh, that's nice. Let's poke the bear.
And he decided to open the Dybbuks box.
Are you? Well, you know what? It's not like it's not like it was doing anything. Clearly, the thing fucking was still doing a lot of damage regardless.
Yeah. So this will be a special on the Travel Channel. I couldn't find if it's actually been released yet or not, but I have a feeling that it will be soon, if not already.
Is he still alive? Because it would be totally awesome.
So
Sorry, Zach. It's just, it would have made a better story.
I can't. I got to be honest. He's not wrong. If someone died from your own stupidity of pushing the paranormal to its limits, then
Paranormal Darwin Award?
I'm pretty sure everybody would be like, "Holy shit, paranormal's real now!" Like,
I mean, even he would be happy with that.
yeah, you're a martyr for your own cause, right? Just the look on your face. He just dropped his pop bottle lid and he looked down like it's like
no.
What an inconvenience.
So Dybbuk box was the basis of an episode of Paranormal Witness, which is a dramatization of someone's paranormal tale. It's kind of like Netflix's Haunted.
Okay.
So basically, they take a tale that's told to them by somebody, and they make a dramatization of it to follow the account. And it was one of these 10 boxes was the basis of that.
Was it the one in question that we're talking about today? Oh, cool.
So there's also a film known as The Book Box: The Story of Chris Chambers. It's on Amazon Prime. It involves the main character purchasing a Dybbuk box off the deep web and all the strange occurrences
That was a tongue twister right there.
that follow when he opens it. I've watched it. It's not bad. It's pretty well done. It is pretty well done. It capitalizes on the odd trend in 2017 to 2019 of buying haunted items and recording what happens when you open them. Or fiddle with them, or mess with them, or provoke the spirits.
Right.
It's the paranormal version of microwave this.
Yeah, you know what? I can see that. I get that.
Don't do this thing, but here's watch us do this thing.
So I'm also just going to mention this right now because you were talking about how it does sound a lot like Insidious. And it's kind of produced by some of the same people that made that movie.
Oh.
There was a movie in 2012 called The Possession.
I think I remember
It starred Jeffrey
that.
Dean Morgan.
Hey!
Well,
shout out to Supernatural.
I know less, but
So, and it also
The
stars
dad from Supernatural.
which guy from Supernatural?
The dad.
Yeah.
Oh, the guy from
yeah,
he's more famous for Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Negan.
and like
Yeah.
like ER and some other stuff. I don't know.
There's an I guess Supernatural's the one I
know.
I first knew him in, but I knew about in Negan as in Walking Dead because they made him a Tekken character for some reason.
Yeah.
And
I just know.
that's right. He was in P.S. I Love You.
Yes.
Totally necessary.
Yeah, he was Gerard Butler's friend or whatever.
Yeah, his friend from back in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he was also in Grey's Anatomy. He was Catherine Heigl's love interest in that.
I never watched it.
Well, that's where a lot of people actually got their first glimpse of him. So.
Gross.
Yeah. Eventually, his character died. Spoiler.
Ah!
My ears.
Anyways,
you got the shitty spot in this room.
Yeah.
What a surprise.
Yeah, the whole movie, the basis was kind of around like Jeffrey Dean Morgan and his daughters. He's divorced from the one police officer from CSI. I forget her name, Meg Oceanberg or something like that. Well, anyways, he's divorced from her, and him and the girl, like, he picks up his daughters for the weekend, and they go to a yard sale, and they find this box that his daughter's obsessed with, so then they buy the box, and then all of a sudden his one daughter's acting very weird, and it just becomes this whole thing. To the point where there's even like an X-ray showing kind of somebody inside of her. It's really weird.
Ooh, that's really cool. I honestly really want to. I want to make stories about this thing too. Like I've one of my things is about paranormal and supernatural thing, a comic book series I wanted to make, and this would be really cool to add to that sort of story.
Especially the fact that it's used as a bind for these spirits, like they need a host no matter what, so they have to be put into these things in order to be. And I think that's kind of why the lock of hair is there, but we'll discuss that afterwards. It's just it's a really interesting.
Honestly, that's why I've been so quiet, is because I've just been so like engaged.
Wrapped.
This is the type of shit I fucking love. Like
He's quiet. Pay attention.
Yeah.
So skeptics behind this. There's one main skeptic, Chris French, who is the head of.
Well, that explains it right there. He's French.
Psychology Research Unit in Goldsmith College. He told an interviewer that he believed that the box's owners were already primed to be looking out for something, like for bad stuff. And if you believe you have been cursed, then inevitably you will explain the bad stuff that is happening in terms of what you perceive to be the cause.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put it like this: I would be happy to own this object. So he's basically saying, I'll take that object, and I'll prove that there's nothing to do. In all honesty, that kind of runs with like the Amityville house. I don't know if you guys ever heard that, but people.
I only know about it because of the
topic.
movie.
So
I don't even know.
Eventually, we'll have to talk about it. It's a really well-known tale, and I try to avoid really, really well-known tales, but this is also a well-known tale, so maybe it'll be something later. But like, there's a whole thing where a series of events happen originally, like murders happen in the house, and then it's claimed that it's due to a possession of a spirit that caused the murder. And then this family buys it and only lives in it for 28 days, and then they abandon all their stuff and abandon the house. Stating that the entire time there was paranormal stuff. And a bunch of people have gone to investigations of it and all this kind of stuff, and it gained notoriety, and people would move in. Some people would be like, oh, weird stuff happened, and then other people would be like, nothing's happening here, this is just a house. They never put weird happens.
That isn't the one that the same people who made Insidious made, where the mom's possessed by the witch, right?
Yeah, that's The Conjuring.
The Conjuring, that's right.
We'll eventually talk about that case too, even if it's just in like a glimpse, like a glancing kind of thing.
Our collage episode of
all the famous
weird
stuff.
Tales that movies are based on.
Because I will talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren at some point, and some of their more either cases that I don't really want to dive too in depth into, or cases that are very short. For instance, Dave, at one point, Ed and Lorraine did have Annabelle the doll inside of. I think it's still in their museum if it's still active. I'm not sure what happened with those items.
Oh, is that the paranormal investigators in the movies?
Yes.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since I saw that movie. I'm not a big fan of horror, and especially jump scary ones will actually. It's just the perfect kind of fear that actually fucks with my own psyche.
We can actually talk about breakdowns of horror movies, because I'm a huge horror fan. We can do that in the overflow, I guess, afterwards. But I am a big horror fan of it, like those kind of things. But
I will be quiet for that.
well, I'm sure you can jump in too. I'm not claiming any of it's real. It's just
Neither am I. I think I've been pretty clear on that.
yeah. So, anyways, that's all I have on these things. Is that
Cool stuff, people.
Yeah, no, that honestly, I'm all invested in the Dybbuks box.
the book box?
It's going in the jar,
Yep.
which we'll put on the shelf. The bookshelf. Geez, that fuck. I am so wrecked right now. It is amazing.
Well, that's what that is.
You're welcome. So anyway, give us some house cleaning, because I feel like we could just move on to the next thing, because I just got like, woo! I don't even know what to say right now.
Well, there's not a lot to say, because it's just one of those supernatural things where do you associate it with people's perceptive biases, or just, is this really fucked up? And I've had experiences with both.
Well,
It's hard to say anything without being there.
And again, that's something that you can go into in the overflow, like we can start talking about.
yeah. Well, I was more referring because I'm the comedy guy. There wasn't much in terms of comedy for me to talk about outside the book.
Well, even I said very little on this.
I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get a book character. Like,
Yeah, how could you honestly? No, I'm sorry. The bit with the bookshelf was, I think, enough in itself.
I
Like,
feel like from
Ben
here on
demands
out,
more.
anything, like, we're gonna put it on the bookshelf.
yeah. It's in the jar on the bookshelf.
Yeah, that's where the jar is.
Yeah. I want to now. I want to just fucking get a picture drawn of of our jar on the bookshelf.
Alright, so house cleaning, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at VA Chaos Jar, and also at I'm glad you asked _ and rate, review, subscribe, like, comment, all those things. Eventually we will hit YouTube, so that will be even more interesting.
Yeah, we're talking about it. It's a hefty journey, and
We don't want to do it, but we got to do it. So.
we're getting there. We're getting
Get
there.
a little more exposure.
That's it.
So I'm also looking into like how we're gonna get merch kind of together and so on, but that'll be a discussion afterwards. Donate at you can become an executive producer for the show at like on Patreon. It's in the show notes, Pandora Jar Podcast, or you can donate to PayPal, Benson4535@com. Again, that's in the show notes. You can also send your email inquiries to that exact email. I will answer them. From there,
Send us a mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us a mic.
Or
And that's
possibly-
when some dude walks in like, hey, I'm Mike.
I'm like,
Hold this.
I'm Mike. Honestly, for a second there, I almost went, you ever seen Royal Canadian Air Force?
yeah.
I'm Mike from Canmore. All right, everybody. Have a good night.